Want a business that runs itself? Then you need a system that's built on proof and not potential. And there are two phases that every business needs to go through in order to do this successfully: validation and automation. Skip the first phase and the second won't just fall flat. It'll cost you time, money, and months of frustration. I've watched business owners pour tens, even hundreds of thousands of dollars into automating their sales, marketing, and delivery only to watch it fail. Not because automation doesn't work, but because they tried to scale what wasn't proven. In today's episode, I'm breaking down exactly how to know which phase your business is in and how to avoid the single biggest mistake that kills ROI and momentum and can save you six figures in the process. You'll learn the compounding checkpoints you have to hit before you automate and how to tell if each piece of your scaling system is truly validated so you can create the systems that scale without burning cash. So whether you're dreaming of freedom, looking into grow without being in the weeds, or you just want to stop rebuilding your business every 6 months, this episode will show you how to do it right and do it in the right order. Hey, and welcome back to the Business Real Talk, the podcast where we strip back the fluff and get real about what it takes to grow, scale, and lead a business that actually works. Now, last week, I broke down what I call the true north strategy and how you actually use this business strategy so that you aren't building something that's just trendy or reactive, but rooted in clarity, direction, and aligned growth. And today's episode is going to build directly on that, because once you know where you're headed, the next question becomes, how do I actually build the systems that take me there without burning out or wasting your time along the way? So that's where this episode comes in. And we're going to dig into the two phases that every scalable business has to go through: validation and automation, so that you understand what phase you're in, what happens when you skip validation, and the 5-point must hit, what I call compounding checkpoints before you automate anything. So your systems are scaling something proven and not just pretty. So let's get real. If you're like most business owners, you don't just want a successful business. You want one that's successful without your constant involvement. And you want a business that doesn't collapse the moment you take a day or a month off. You want freedom, not just to take a well-deserved vacation, but to focus on vision, growth, and just have a normal life. And you love this idea of systems that don't require your constant oversight. And maybe most of all, you want to stop chasing the next best thing, rebuilding your business every few months because things keep breaking as you grow. So here's the real talk that most business owners never took the time to understand. Scaling isn't about adding more. It's about making what's already working work without you. Sounds good, right? Yet most businesses are taught to solve this by jumping straight into automation. So they hire agencies, they set up tech stacks, they launch evergreen funnels, and they build the fancy backend systems, only to turn them on and find that they're left with nothing more than lost dollars and lost time. And they're questioning everything that went wrong. See, you might have a beautifully built machine, but it doesn't actually produce results. And the problem is that advice that's leading so many businesses astray is fundamentally flawed. See, you're taught to automate, set up a funnel, hire a setter or closer, run some paid traffic, build systems so you can scale, build out your backend so it all runs hands off. And sure, all of those things can work, but only if you've proven the process before plugging it into a system, because none of those strategies are magic. They only work when they're amplifying something that's already working manually. See, automation doesn't fix a broken system. It just hides the problem behind polished tech. And this is where so many business owners go wrong. They skip the proof, they skip the process, they skip the performance, and they end up scaling what hasn't been stress tested, focusing on this possibility of what could come instead of a proven result. That's why you launch an evergreen funnel and it flops. It's why your automated sales system gets tons of views but no buyers. And it's why your back end is beautiful, but your front end is a revolving door of cold leads and confusing messaging, because you're automating potential and not proof. Automation cannot create demand. It can only streamline what's already converting. And that's the part that no one talks about, because everyone wants automation, but the businesses that actually scale start by validating. See, it's your validation that damn near guarantees your automated systems work. It's your validation that drives demand to your work. And it's your validation that saves hundreds of hours and headaches that come from building your speed towards a dead end. Because when you skip validation, you don't just waste time, you waste the one thing automation can't replace: momentum. You can't systemize something that hasn't been stress tested. You'll just end up speeding up the failure process. That's why understanding the two essential phases of business growth, validation and automation, is the key to building a system that actually works. So think about it this way. Have you ever tried to bake something, let's say a cake, a brownie, a cookie, without testing the recipe first? And so you throw all the ingredients together. You set it in the oven, you hope for the best, but when it comes out, it's either raw in the middle or burnt on the edges. Now imagine if you tried to sell that cake at a bakery and then you hired a whole team to package it, deliver it, only for you to get complaints from every single customer. That's what automating before validating feels like. See, you need to actually get the recipe right, the perfect mix, the right bake time before you scale and start mass producing. See, in business, that recipe test is validation. It's proving your offer works, your sales process converts, and your delivery delights on a small scale. Only then can automation step in to help you bake thousands of perfect cakes while you're out enjoying life. That's why every scalable business goes through these two critical phases, starting with validation. This is where you test your recipes. So you're going to figure out the ingredients that work, what right bake time is, and you make your cake delicious every single time. It's the phase where you're proving your offer, your messaging, your sales, your marketing, and your delivery work manually, step by step, without shortcuts. It's only when you have all of those pieces validated that you can then automate. So automation is where you scale your proven recipe. So let's say once your cake is perfected, you build the ovens, you hire the bakers, you set up the packaging line so you can produce and deliver thousands without losing quality or consistency, right? Skipping validation is like putting that untested batter into millions of ovens. It's a recipe for disaster, right? You're wasting ingredients, you have unhappy customers. But when you get that validation correct, you get it right from the get-go, and automation becomes your ticket to freedom, to growth, and a business that truly runs itself. This is why every single business owner that walks through our doors goes through our growth optimization call first. It's not just because I want to get you there for no reason. It's because I've watched far too many businesses who have spent years and thousands of dollars investing in solutions that didn't meet their business where it was at. And I've watched startups who spent tens of thousands on ads and funnels when they didn't even have a validated offer. I've watched consultants with no marketing building out complicated and layered marketing that just failed. All because they were given solutions that didn't account for their simple concept first, having validation in hand before moving to automation. So it's why I am so incredibly obsessed with having you jump on that growth optimization call. So if you've heard this and you're like, okay, Nas, I get it, head on over to easyesleads.com/call and book your call now. It's why when people beg me to join our scaling mastermind so that they can learn how to create their own Netflix effect bingeable series, I don't ask how much money they made or how many offers they have. Those are irrelevant. Instead, I look at which pieces they've already validated to see if they have the necessary infrastructure that makes those systems work. Because that's an expensive testing process if you're putting money behind a broken system. So the question becomes, how do you know which phase your business is really in so you can take the right steps at the right time to avoid those costly mistakes that drain hundreds of thousands of dollars and years of effort? And make sure that you stick around to the end because I'm going to give you the 5-point automation checklist that will save you 6 figures and years of effort. Now, I want you to think back to the last time that you tried something new. Maybe you tested a new recipe or a new workout routine. You didn't just jump straight into this marathon or big 100 cupcakes, right? You took small steps first to see if it worked for you. That's exactly what the validation phase is like in your business. It's the small steps that lead to the big leap. So here's how to know if you are truly in the validation phase. You're going to ask yourself, do I have a clear understanding of what my high intent buyers want and what they're willing to pay for? Can your buyers easily explain your approach and see the value without confusion? Have you found a marketing message or angle that naturally draws people in? Or do you have a sales process or event that's created consistent results multiple times? And is your delivery smooth enough that you're not constantly putting out fires? If you're answering no or not consistently to these, you're still in validation mode. And that's where your focus needs to be, because without that proof, no amount of automation will fix what's not working. Now imagine that you've nailed a recipe. You've baked that cake a dozen times and it's perfect. Friends are raving about it. People ask for the recipe. It sells out every single time you bring it to a bake sale. That's when you know know it's time to scale and when automation makes sense, but only if certain things are in place. Here's how to know if your business is ready for automation. Have you repeatedly sold your offer with consistent conversion rates? Do you have messaging that reliably attracts qualified leads, not just any leads? Have you proven your sales process can close without needing you to heavily customize or convince? Is your delivery systemized enough to get repeatable results for different clients, not just one type? And most importantly, is your current system already working manually before you try to automate it? Because if it's not working on a small scale, automation won't save you. It'll just spread the cracks further and faster. Because automation is about scaling what's already working, not hoping that tech will fix what hasn't been figured out yet. And it's the reward for doing the foundational work first. And when you do it correctly, it's the thing that frees you from the daily grind and lets your business run without you. So let's say you're starting to see some of those signs. You've got proof that your offer converts, your leads are high intent, not just curious, your systems are getting results without you needing to handhold every step. That's when automation becomes a smart move. But it still needs to be done intentionally. Even if you're ready to automate, not everything should be automated and not done in the wrong order. It's about setting up the right pieces at the right time and in the right order. Because even when the right foundation is in place, you need to ensure that each piece of the puzzle works together seamlessly. So you avoid the tech headaches, the bottlenecks, the things that you don't anticipate. This is what I call compounding checkpoints. You want to have a holistic approach. It's why when clients come to me, I'm not just solving one piece of the puzzle. I'm looking at the entire puzzle and looking at all the pieces and how they work together. So I use what we call compounding checkpoints before we try to automate anything. So it makes sure that your systems are set up to scale, something that's actually working and not just something that looks good on paper. So before I break it down, let me give you an example. I had a client who came to me and she had been running ads for the last couple of months. She had hired an agency. She had spent around 6 figures between ad spend and the agency to try and get more people into her programs. Now, she was incredibly successfully organically already. And what she was doing is predominantly using other people's audiences where she was running events inside of their audiences and then also using organic content to do that. Now, the problem was when she moved into ads, she ended up building a system from scratch that had never, ever been validated or tested in the process. So she not only was running ads to a low ticket offer and then trying to upsell them into another offer, something she had never done before, but she was also using a brand new webinar that she was trying to drive people to book a call and then be able to work with her. All of processes that she'd never tested before. So what she ended up doing was spending all this time and money in the testing process with nothing validated previously. So she was putting money behind something that didn't produce results. Now I want you to think about the fact that that cost her hundreds of thousands of dollars, but more importantly, momentum was lost in the process because she stopped doing what she was doing organically to focus on these things that she was building here. But also she was just frustrated. She felt like she was doing all the right things and not getting results. And I see and hear that so often from businesses that, again, are established, have been in business 20 years, who have something really successful moving for them, all the way down to startups who are getting into business and are being told that they need to start building out automated systems from day one. Now, this is something I could not disagree with more, which is really understanding that the validation happens prior to everything else. Once we shift those, so for example, with my client, we shifted that. We took what events were already working well for her. We took the same messaging, the same concepts, and then literally just applied that to her bingeable system. So she wasn't rebuilding. She wasn't starting from scratch. She was using what had already been validated in her world already to build out her evergreen system. Now, that's for someone who already had things in place that were producing results. If you're someone who's like, listen, I don't have anything, it's kind of like sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. That's where I tell people you have to start small. So when people come to me and they're like, listen, I have clients coming in, but it's sporadic, it's referrals, it's out of nowhere. Sometimes I run events that work and sometimes I don't. Then I tell them that we want to start simple. We start by using content to quite literally validate the entire process. So if you have the offer that's validated, then we're just using content. We're not building out some beautiful evergreen system without having a content, the angle, the marketing, the sales process all set up first. Okay. So I want you to think about it that way. So when we use compounding checkpoints, it does exactly that. It's actually building something that's better than just good on paper. It's actually working for you over and over again. And it's why I have clients who come back to me 12 years later. They're still using the same strategy. They're still using the same systems. They're still using the same automations we built back then. So I want to break those down for you and how you can apply them to your business at scale so that you're getting confidence and ROI. Now, let me have you start thinking about it this way. Have you ever tried to stack dominoes, but they don't seem to work? And you line them up. You're all excited. You knock down the first one, and halfway through the line, it just stops, right? One was misaligned. And so it's just slightly off. And that's what happens in your business when you try to automate without aligning the right foundational pieces in the right order. Because automation isn't just about needing systems, it needs systems that compound, okay? When done in the right order, each system builds momentum for the next. But when done out of order, they cancel each other out. I want you to think about this. When you get them right, you eliminate stress. You create the freedom in your business that you're craving. You stop chasing all the wrong things. You build a well-oiled machine that just works. It creates momentum that builds and grows with each step. That's the entire purpose behind having a compounding and automated approach, that each piece is building onto the next. And the best part, when you build them in the right order, you don't just get a business that runs itself, you get the fastest ROI possible. So let's break down the 5 compounding checkpoints that stack together to fuel the next. Now, you're going to see that this probably sounds like it's out of order, but it's not. So hear me out. Number 1 is demand. Number 2 is deliverables. Number 3 is sales. Number 4 is marketing. And number 5 is metrics. Now, have you ever heard of an app called Bourbon? Probably not, right? And there's a reason for that. It was the original version of what we now know as Instagram. But back then, it was packed with features, check-ins, plans, photos, all the things. The problem, no one really understood what it was. Now, it had all the potential in the world, but no clear positioning until the founders stripped away everything else except one thing: sharing beautiful photos. And that's when things started to click, not because they added more, not because they changed everything, but because they finally tapped into clear, undeniable demand. Your business doesn't need more features. You don't need more things, more stuff that you're building. It needs more clarity, especially in what people want from you. This is what I call the demand checkpoint. It's the first and most overlooked step in the compounding process, and skipping it is why most automation fails, but nonetheless, most businesses fail. So here's the real test. Do your high intent buyers instantly get what you do and why it matters? Does your messaging create desire, or does it just create intrigue? Are people drawn in by how your work is different, not just what it is? And have you had people repeat your positioning back to you without you prompting them? Okay? Because automation cannot fix a lack or unclear demand. It can only multiply it. So it's going to expose those cracks faster. Before you build anything else, this is the foundation. That is step 1. Now, once you have that checkpoint in place, the second checkpoint, so essentially what I'm saying is step 1 in the entire automation process is demand. Do we have it? Do we have the necessary pieces of it? Do we have all the things that are going to require this to work? Because everything else we build thereafter is not going to work without this one step being correct. That's why you see people who have spent 6 months building something and they're like, what the heck happened? Why did it not work? Likely it started with the demand checkpoint. So this is why I say demand checkpoint is always step number 1. So the second checkpoint is your delivery checkpoint. So let me ask you this. Have you ever ordered from a restaurant that had great branding, a mouth-watering menu, and maybe even went viral online, but when you got there and the food actually arrived, it was cold, it was underwhelming, and it was late? Yeah, you probably never went back. You never ordered again, because you can't scale what clients don't want to repeat, no matter how good the packaging looks. The same goes for your business. Having a smooth backend isn't just about operational ease, it's about delivering what you promised consistently and without chaos. When we talk about the happy client machine, it's about knowing that when you bring a client in, you know they're going to walk away happy. They're going to get the results you promised them. They're going to feel good. They're going to go talk about what you just did with them and shout it from the rooftops. So I want you to ask yourself this. Does your offer actually run without you firefighting or guiding every single step? Because that's the key, right? You cannot be the puppeteer. You cannot be the only person creating the magic. Next piece is, are your clients not just getting results, but repeatable results? Meaning not just 1 in 100 get results, but 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, right? We're creating that. And if you're not, you don't want to jump into scaling your marketing and your sales process when you don't think you can actually get your clients results over and over again. Next, do your delivery systems make it easier to scale, or do they feel fragile, duct taped together? Maybe you don't even have any delivery systems to begin with. Now, the final question I want you to ask yourself is, if you added 10, 20, or 100 new people into the offer, would you still be able to deliver world-class results? Because if you can't, stop, Do not move forward. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Go fix that first. See, most delivery problems aren't obvious until you try to scale, and then they become expensive really quickly. Because if you're constantly in cleanup mode, you're not ready for automation. You cannot bring in 20 new clients if you can't serve 20 new clients and get results. So without this checkpoint, every new sale adds more pressure to a system that's already barely holding on. So before you go try and scale your marketing, make sure your delivery is set up to scale results, okay? Now, we've all been there where we've spent months building the perfect funnel, all the bells and whistles, upsells, timers, all that stuff, only to flip the switch and nothing. I mean, crickets. Maybe even you're getting refund requests. And maybe you've even had a webinar that crushed it the first time you ran it live, but when you run it again and again, it flops. You tweak the headlines, you change the slides, you added bonuses, but again, still nothing's working. This is the sales checkpoint, because if your sales only work sometimes, they're not scalable. They're not scalable at all, and they're situational. A sales experience that doesn't work repeatedly isn't an asset, it's a money pit. And I've watched it be a money pit over and over again. This is why you need a sales system that's built on psychology and not pressure, on decision science and not just best practices. One that moves people to take action, whether it's live, automated, in a room, or through a screen. It doesn't matter, because when your sales system is truly validated, you don't have to reinvent it every launch. You can scale it with confidence. And to boot, it's not built on trends or tactics that are constantly shifting when the economy shifts, when there's a pandemic, when something else changes in the algorithm, right? You need a sales system that truly works with how people think, okay? Hence why we developed the bingeable decision system. It has worked not just for the last year, not just for the last 2 years, for the last 10, 13 years, because it's built on decision psychology. It's built on something that doesn't change. We're not shifting the way we make decisions. It's remained the same. So here's what the sales checkpoint really is all about. Number one, do you have a repeatable, scalable sales process that converts without relying on charisma or real-time explanations? Let me explain. I see a lot of people who, when I ask them, hey, why do people end up buying from you? They say, because of me, my personality, how great I am, all those good things. Guess what happens when we try to scale? We are going to have to remove ourselves out of the process to a certain extent, which means you're not going to be able to be this charismatic, perfect person all the time. And when you're taking dozens of calls with people, then you all of a sudden realize that I can't try to be on all the time. I need something that allows me to not be me that needs to do the selling, right? You cannot become the bottleneck. Next is your sales process optimized for high intent buyers? So I want you to think about this way. A lot of people have built all the right pieces, but their sales system is not optimized for high intent buyers. So then when they go scale, they run ads, they do all these fancy pants things. They're like, why am I getting so many people who are unready, who are unqualified, who don't want to make buying decisions? And they're like, what's happening? Well, their sales system wasn't optimized for high intent buyers. And I see it all the time. I ask you right now to go watch some ads from really incredible people who are doing something really amazing, where people are in the comments saying, do you have a different time? I'm not available then. Do you have anything that I can watch right now? I'm not available for live events, right? Those are some examples of what we see when we build a sales system that's not optimized for our high intent buyers. Now, the last piece of the puzzle is, are your close rates consistent and tied to clear patterns? Or are they totally unpredictable? Meaning, if I said, hey, you have 10 booked calls, do you know that you're going to close 8 of them? Likely, right? Or do you think there and sit there and say, maybe I'm going to close 1, maybe I'm going to close 10? I don't know. That's when we know. So I, again, want you to think about, if I had 100 leads come in, would you know how many conversions would come out? Because if your sales process only works when you're the one selling, or it only works when all the things align, the stars align, haven't built a system. You've built a bottleneck, and bottlenecks don't scale. So I want you to think about it that way. Now, the next piece is the marketing system, having that marketing checkpoint. Notice how it's not the top of the list, it's moving down towards the bottom. So you know that feeling when you launch a marketing campaign and it's like nothing happens, or maybe you get some clicks, but none of those leads actually care about what you offer. And it's a classic sign that you haven't yet found your true marketing message. So I see this all the time, especially with ads. Clients who have come to me, like I mentioned before, they're running expensive ads. They've got hundreds of leads coming in and they're like, what the heck is happening? See, marketing isn't about shouting louder or throwing more money at ads. It's about speaking directly to the people who are already looking for a solution. You have to be able to do that first so that you make it impossible for them to ignore you. I want you to think of marketing like an engine that pulls prospects into your business. If it's misfiring, no matter how fancy the car is, you're not going to get far. Say, Worse, you might waste tons of money on fuel and all the wrong things trying to go nowhere. So before you automate or pour dollars into scaling, I want you to make sure your marketing engine is firing on all cylinders. So here's how to know if your marketing is truly validated. Here's a checkpoint. Are you attracting the right people? So I want you to ask yourself, is my audience, my list, my space filled with buyers? Do I have high intent prospects who are there? And maybe they're sitting in your world and they're ready. It's not just anyone. I see this all the time. People are like, I've got thousands of followers. And I'm like, that's awesome, but you have no buyers. You have to have that first. Next, is your marketing angle crystal clear and unique? Okay, so I'm gonna just give it to you real. I've spent $100,000 plus on ad agencies and ads themselves with very little results, okay? And it's not because those ads people aren't great. They're amazing, they're fantastic. But what ended up happening was I didn't have a marketing angle that was validated. I didn't have something that was ready to go. So when I was running ads, they were just like using these templates and like, hey, this has worked for my clients. I've done this and I've done all the things that you've done, okay? What I started to do recently in the last 6 months is I took control of my own ads. So I literally went through a process where I took things that had worked organically and validated them through ads. So I took a marketing angle that had performed really well inside of my organic audience and then took that to scale so that I make sure that it's working there. The cost per client acquisition, my click-through rate, my lead cost, all of that went down so much, and I was getting better quality leads and better conversions because I knew the messaging angles that performed well. You have to be able to do this. So it's got to be crystal clear and unique. It has to be able to take you outside of your competitive angle. If I see an ad and I'm like, I've seen the same thing said 15 different times, I'm going to scroll. So you have to think about it that way. Next is, does your marketing consistently generate engagement and leads? So again, I don't care. Engagement is less important, but it is one tool that we use. Leads are more important. Am I getting leads? Am I getting the right leads? So whether you're using organic or paid, it needs to have repeatable traction that is going to prove that your marketing system works. And have you tracked your cost per lead and lead quality? And are you happy with that? Because cheap leads don't convert or waste. I see people all the time preaching about quizzes, top of funnel quizzes. And I'm like, that's awesome, guys, but I'm getting cheap leads that don't convert. What's the point? That's just me churning through. That's just me wasting time. So you really need to understand your cost per lead, understand lead quality, understand your intention behind things, have all these pieces built out quickly. And lastly, can you replicate your message successfully across channels? So your messaging should convert prospects, whether it's email, social, webinars, wherever. Because it doesn't matter the platform that we're using, it should be leveraged. So if any of these things feel shaky, that's like a flashing warning light. Your marketing isn't validated yet. No automation or scaling will fix that. So we need to check that first. It's just going to amplify the problem. So I want you to think about that. Now, the last piece of the puzzle is tracking metrics. You cannot improve what you can't track, but not all metrics are created equal. Tracking the wrong numbers is like following a map that leads nowhere, right? Smart businesses know that they focus on a handful of key metrics that show whether every part of their system is truly working from demand to delivery. So your numbers, they need to be able to prove that your business is profitable and scalable. All the automation and the systems in the world aren't going to save you from those costly mistakes. So before you pour resources into scaling, make sure that you have a clear, actionable data that's going to tell you exactly what's working, what's not, and where to double down. Okay. Now, this is going to be different for every single business. So take that with a grain of salt, but here's like the non-negotiable ones we're looking at. Number one, are you tracking real profit and not just revenue? Do you know your profit margins? Number two, do you know your customer acquisition cost and lifetime value? Number three, can you identify the bottlenecks or leak points in your funnel with data? So again, if you're sitting there and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm running tons of money towards ads, I don't know why it's not working, then you don't know how to actually test and have the data that's going to tell you where in your funnel things are breaking, where in your process things are breaking. Next is, are your retention and referral rates high enough to sustain growth? Again, I don't want you to be dependent on constant lead generation. I want you to get to a point where your referral rates and retention rates are high enough where if you didn't make money in a month, you would still be able to consistently grow your business. Next is, do your metrics show consistent improvement, or are they just flatlining? Do not try to automate when something's flatlining, okay? When your metrics tell a clear, compelling story, then you can scale confidently. No guesswork, no wasted cash, okay? This is the key to actually having the systems, the automations that are going to give you back your time, allow you to run a business that runs itself without needing you all the time. And it's just one piece of the puzzle when it comes to the easiest method. I didn't build this method just out of nowhere. I knew and understood that creating a highly profitable, highly scalable, and highly successful business that you actually enjoy comes down to three things. Number one, winning the market. Okay. You are not here to just try and compete with everyone else out there. And it's only going to get louder and louder as we go on because we're seeing market saturation increase drastically. So, want you to think about it this way. Your best clients, the ones who are ready to buy right now, they're not looking for another take on the same thing. They're searching for a breakthrough that makes them say, oh my gosh, this is what I've been waiting for all along. So while most businesses are out there fighting for attention, trying to market their faces off, smart experts are making their competition irrelevant. I want you to think about what would happen in your business if market saturation, competition, those things were irrelevant to you, because you've developed something so innovative that it creates demand. It has people coming to you. So our innovative gap methodology does just that. We help you uncover and articulate what makes your work truly innovative by pinpointing the gap in the market that only you can fill. This is a science-backed approach. We are looking at the nitty-gritty. So you don't just become an option, you become the only option for high-intent buyers. Instead of chasing, convincing, you're creating demand where high-end clients are seeking you out, instantly seeing your value and investing without hesitation. This step alone allows my clients to 5 to 10x their prices and have clients lining up to work with them. Now, the next step is how you turn your innovative method into a bingeable decision system. So I want you to think about how Netflix gets you to sit down, binge watch an entire series without taking any breaks and becoming a diehard fan. Now, imagine your buyers did the same thing with you, where they binge their way through your sales system. And with every episode, they become obsessed, selling themselves on you every single step of the way. We call this the bingeable decision system. And it works because it's using psychology. It's mirroring the natural decision process everyone goes through so buyers can binge their way through your sales system, coming out so eager, so ready to work with you that they beg to get on your calendar and join your program. No more chasing, no more months of back and forth, no more feeding your audience so much content that your brain hurts. Just a simple system that gets your leads to sell themselves. Now, the third and final piece is about delivering on the promise that you made, because sustainable businesses understand that marketing alone is not enough. You have to be able to deliver on your promises and create raving fans. That's why we've built our Happy Client Machine, this systematic approach to delivering world-class results to your clients at scale without being fully reliant on you. We take your magic, we systemize that magic and that delivery. So you have clients who are singing your praises to anyone they meet while also being able to actually enjoy your life. This is the power behind the ECS method, where we build the systems, the ecosystems, the strategy, the innovation that takes your industry and the world by storm so you become the most talked about and most bought from experts. So if you're an action taker and you want to see how the ECS method can be applied inside of your business, I want to invite you to apply for a growth optimization call. This call is going to be between you and I. We're going to be sitting down. We're going to review your approach to getting consistent clients. I'm going to share with you exactly where I see the opportunity to position your work so people are chasing you down. I'll show you how the ECS method can be applied to turn your expertise into a bingeable masterpiece. So if you're ready to apply for that call, head on over to ecsleads.com/call. But if you're new around here, or you just want to learn a little bit more about how we use the Netflix effect to get your leads to sell themselves, I want to invite you to check out our limited time on-demand series, where I break down the 3 steps to get your leads to sell themselves. So head on over to thenetflixeffect.com. Now, I hope that you're walking away from this episode with clear understanding of when to validate, when to automate, what it really actually takes without the fluff, the real talk on what it takes to truly grow a business that can run without you. Now, if this has left a mark on you, has got you to think differently, as always, I would love and appreciate if you could take 1 minute out of your already busy day to rate, subscribe, and share this episode with a friend. But until next time, here's to keeping it real.